Alright, I'm going to go over unit roles in Steel Division and a general overview on what they do, the difference. This is intended for new players who are just trying to learn the game. So, as you can see, there are 8 types of unit roles in the game. I'm currently in the Division Planner. So, you can, or Battle Group, I'm sorry. So you can get there by clicking battle groups and create or edit. So as you can see, I can see all 4 types of roles. Some of them are going to be kind of obvious, some not so much. And you can see there's a limit to how many cards you can have in each type of role in the game. So if we look at one, and we'll just remove everything. So quick thing is cards. When I put this up here, I can call this specific unit in 4 times during the match at a cost of 30 points. And it can come in at phase A, B, or C. So phase A units can come in at A, B, or C. Phase B units can come at B or C. C can only come in during battle phase C. All the phase means is phase B starts at 10 minutes into the match. Phase C starts at 20 minutes into the match. So it just prevents you from calling in your biggest, baddest stuff right away. And the cheese that can kind of develop in a meta like that. So these 3 units are exactly the same. The only reason there's 3 cards is because I can only have 4 of those ones come in, and then 4 and 2 or 3 and 2 of those, or I could have 12 of them come in, and these will all stack together like in the game, so it'll just show like one big stack of the same type of unit. So these infantry are the exact same thing. The only difference is their transport. So the top is a Kubel, bottom guy here is a half track. So this you can see is actually a different type of unit. It's these 2 guys in a scout car. All infantry have to disembark, so even regular infantry will come in some type of vehicle. So these guys come in Kubel, these comes in truck, and then another half track. When you to disembark in the game is you. If the vehicle does not have a weapon of any type, such as the Kubel or the Opel truck, it will just disappear. If it does have a weapon of some sort, such as the half track or that scout car, it will stick around and you can use it and keep fighting with it. So that is why obviously they cost higher if they come in better transport. And of course transports just have their own stats, like what you can see here with speed, stealth, visibility. So I know this is a recon unit because of the binoculars. Recon units are arguably the most important unit in the game. Their goal is to give you sight on the enemy in the battleground. You can see their optics are very high. Most units in the game are going to have normal optics, or like armor is going to be at very low. You always want recon on the front line or even behind the enemy lines, and you always want to make it so they don't fire. And to do that, I can show you in the next video, but their unit information will be in the bottom right in the battle, basically looking almost like this, and next to each weapon it'll say on. You just click that to off. Recon are nearly worthless in a fight. They shouldn't be fighting, and to be spotted if they're in green cover, you basically have to walk on them. And the scout vehicles, light armor, obviously you can't disembark that. You just gotta be careful, especially when it's coming in later game. It's gonna allow you to spot quicker, but you gotta play it much different than something you're gonna disembark with infantry. I recommend as a new player probably mostly sticking with infantry you're going to disembark. So next we have regular infantry. We have a couple types. So same thing. All these guys are really the exact same thing. It's just do you want to bring 3, 6, or 9. And of course you're limited to how many slots up here. But these guys are leaders. As you can see, they only come with 4 men. They basically give buffs to an area around them, and the areas, you see a big circle around them. Basically, units in the area receive half suppression, they won't surrender, their experience is increased. And experience is just these stars. Basically, it's a stat boost, and you can earn experience in the fight. So that's what a leader unit does, and there's other type of leader units besides just infantry. Next we will just show basically regular infantry with nothing special about them. Yeah, we get find other infantry, and then just map control. This icon means they have anti-tank weapons. These guys will be good at engaging light medium armor, and if you have enough of them, heavy armor. The anti-tank weapons, you have to be fairly close to the target to attack with them. So you usually got ambush armor like on next to a road, either from a house or tree line. Then we have storm pioneers that have flamethrowers, really good at pushing guys out of buildings and just really being infantry up at close quarters. And then MGs that are going to cause quick suppression. Again, the only difference between these units is their vehicle they come in on. So these guys have a half track, these guys have a truck. And then later phases, you can sometimes get experienced units, and it's important to make sure that you don't fill like your infantry up with all phase Bs and one phase 4 or phase A, because this means the first 10 minutes of the game you would only be able to call in 4 infantry, and then you'd have to wait 10 minutes to call in any of these. Tanks are kind of all-purpose. They can mess infantry up pretty quick. You want to keep distance from infantry usually, unless if you know they don't have anti-armor, because Panzerfaust and bazookas and stuff can knock a tank out, especially if there's a couple of them firing at them. But tanks are gonna have an armor rating, higher the better, and anti-tank gun, higher the better. And you can see some tanks are leaders. Usually they only can come in alone. As you see, there's no green number. When non-leader tanks, you can call in multiple of them over the course of the battle. There's not a ton to say right now, at least to a new player. Generally, expensive tanks are going to be better. They're going to, it's like, you have the Panther G with, better gun, decent armor compared to the Panzer IV. So it's just about cost, how long you want to wait. I usually recommend having a good amount of B and usually only a couple C, like 2 or 3. And again, it depends if you're going with leaders or regulars. And the main difference is the leader can only be called in once, when something like this can be called 4 times. But this has 2 experience, which is just going to make a better unit, and sometimes maybe a little bit increased stat. So like the stats on this tank are exactly the same from the leader to the regular, but you get half the call-ins. But that experience, I don't know how much, and I'm sure it's going to change because it's in beta, but how much it buffs, I know it is pretty adequate though. It does make a difference. Next we have support. the thing you probably want to pay the most attention to and support are your munition vehicles. Every fact division army group is going to have some type of vehicle with the supply icon. All units in this game use ammunition when they fire. Generally, they're not going to run out unless they're artillery or some type of machine gun maybe in the game, which in the next video I'll show the icons above the unit's head. If this symbol starts to appear next to it, it means they're either running low on ammunition or they need ammunition. All I gotta do is drive one of these trucks up next to them, stop it, a yellow circle will appear, and anything in that yellow circle will get supplied. As a new player, you take at least one group, but probably two to be safe. But usually you don't have to worry about it because as a new player, a lot of times stuff's gonna die before it ever needs to get resupplied, and that's true for veteran players too, of just Wargame stuff. Not all your units are gonna live. Next, you have a lot of leader support, which is nice because it's gonna be quicker than a tank most of the time, and give bonuses to units around it. You're gonna have, usually if it's not a leader, anything like this is gonna be good at causing suppression and basically pinning down infantry. Think of these as almost anti-infantry type vehicles. Not so much in kills, but suppressing them really quick. And then you just have like utility vehicles that'll be in here, like a flame half-track. Weapons like this are gonna be able to fire smoke. It's like self-propelled gun, and to fire smoke it's B and you fire wherever you want. So other big thing about support is it's support. Don't send it out alone unless if you're desperate. Support should always be assisting infantry or armor, because most of these are not designed to handle other vehicles well, or groups of infantry in large number. Next we have anti-tank. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's basically three types. You're going to have a gun on wheels that is pulled into the battlefield. Once you deploy it, these guys can push it around. Some type of infantry, which is usually limited in numbers, but this weapon packs a lot more of a punch than what these guys would pack. And then some type of tank destroyer. In this case, a Jagdpanzer IV. Doesn't mean it's not effective against infantry, but it's better suited against armor, and is a lot of times going to have higher anti-tank gun ratings than tanks would have. Keep in mind, you can only have 3 cards here, and so when you get kills on enemy anti-tank, it's huge because you can make someone run out of anti-tank pretty quickly. Like currently, I only have 8 call-ins, and 3 of those are infantry. Oh, last thing too is I want to stress the importance of AT guns. In World War II, more tanks died to AT guns than tanks that died to other tanks. Point being, AT guns do their job. Hide them in green cover, hide them in woods. Have Recon either near them or ahead of them, and they will smash tanks all day. And again, with your tanks, always treat anti-tanks as a hard counter. Don't engage them unless it's absolutely necessary. But that said, if you do flank like a gun like this with a tank from the rear, odds are you can probably wipe it off if it's not looking at you. If it's just a 1-in-1 counter, no other like variables. Anti-air is kind of, you have stuff on wheels, and then anti-air that's mounted in some type of vehicle. Obviously, it's going to be good at shooting down airplanes, keeping control, so your enemy doesn't get too much control of the air. If you guys go in large air force, it can also shoot at infantry and tanks. Obviously, it's not going to be the greatest against tanks and armor, but it can do damage. Infantry, it can be actually pretty devastating towards. It's going to suppress them very quick. But keep in mind, if you're doing that, it means it's more open to be wiped out. And most of these are only, a lot of them are 2 call-in or 1 call-in. Artillery doesn't need line of sight. This is what's most likely going to run out of ammunition that you're going to have to send supply trucks to. Some artillery, I'm not sure if you can tell. Some artillery has off the map abilities where the unit will be on the map and it'll have like a big white circle around it, and then where your airplanes are, you can click down there and fire at a spot. Again, none of these should need line of sight. Long reloads, low ammunition count. Press T to fire directly on the ground, even if you can't see the enemy there. If you think they're there, if you just know they're there because you've seen them a couple seconds ago, you can target ground and hit the ground that way too. And then last we have air. And you have different types of air again. Recon, which is going to just give you sight around the field. Interceptors, which are going to be best at shooting down other airplanes. And then ground attack. Now, interceptors can also strafe run and attack ground. Obviously, they won't be effective. Then ground attack basically has different types. So, like these have anti-rockets. They're basically going to just fire once, and they can do a lot of damage and knock tanks out. But it's just one quick run. You have bombs, which aren't going to be as accurate, but can do a lot of damage, and like bigger bombs. And then like a heavy bomber. So heavier the bomber, the slower and more vulnerable it is to an interceptor. So keep that in mind. So you usually don't want to send a bomber out alone. You'd want to send an interceptor with it. And that is unit roles in a nutshell. In the next video, I'll show units in action and kind of show what I mean by how to use infantry, how to use recon, and make sure everything's just working in sync with each other. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.